Okay, hello. Welcome to WitchLab Wednesday Live. I'm your host, Tiffany Boggins, and today is November 3rd, 2021. November already. Oh my gosh. Thank you for joining me. My guest tonight will be Victoria Constantino. She wrote this amazing book, Tarot by the Moon, which we're going to get all into later. Very, very fun. You guys know that's two of my favorite topics, so I'm going to talk about them together. Let's see, what's news? Again, it's November. Today was the first cold day. I walked out and I realized I didn't have enough clothes on. I was like, damn it, it's happening. Also, I went and paid a bill. And when I do that, I write the date that I paid it. And when I wrote the 11 for the first time, it dawned on me that 2021 is almost over. Holy, it's and the November is the last month for WitchLab Wednesday Live. This is it. This is I'm gonna take December off and come back in January for season 3. Strangely enough, that's not crazy. Let's see if we have anybody here. Oh, we got a bunch of people here. Hi, Betty. Forgive me if I say this weird, but Berardelli, Melanie. I'm gonna go with Melanie because. Hi, Rachel. Mon Chéri Rose. That's a whole beautiful name. Michelle. Lindy, all right. It is Witchy Wednesday. Christina, hi everybody. Hey Laura, people's popping on. Okay, so all kinds of things are going on. Let's see. So I'm gonna have a little cough tonight, just so you know. It's not COVID related, it's dust related, because I'm having some work done in my kitchen, which means I had to clean out my whole kitchen, which, I'm not awesome at planning sometimes. That meant I had to clean out my whole garage to put my stuff from my kitchen in there. So it was a day of cleaning the garage, inhaling all that dust and stuff, and then drywall dust. So I have a little bit of a cough, but I'll try to keep it out of the show as much as I can. I also want to turn my phone off, keep that out of the show too. I got my hair done. That's right. No more hot pink. Look at this. This is I think this is my 4th time being in an actual hair salon, like in the chair, in the last 20 years. Like I just don't do it very often, but I think that it's time that I start paying attention to maintenance because I'm getting old. I'm gonna be 50, and it's like you notice I get my nails done now regularly, and I'm gonna start doing my hair regularly. So no, 6-inch roots. I'm working on stuff. Getting my kitchen work done. It's like I'm becoming an adult. Again, I'm almost 50, so I feel like it's time. But yeah, I'm one of those people that's not great with maintenance, right? Like I'm not a duster. There's dust everywhere. I always had roots. When I do shave, the razor's completely clogged because it's been so long, that kind of stuff. Nail polish on my toes definitely stays on till it flakes off, that kind of stuff. But I'm getting better. I'm working on it. I'm bettering myself. That actually brings me to something I didn't realize I was going to talk about. But we have this witches ball coming up in 3 days. And the coordinators of it, the wonderful magical druid, they thank you guys. Yes, my hair does look good. I'm going to talk about my hairstyles in one sec. But so magical druid reached out to me and asked if I would be part of the ritual, me and a few other local people, and they want just a couple of words on about being a witch, or what being a witch means to me. And so I'm thinking about it a lot. I've been mulling it over, and finding witchcraft when I did, and the changes that it made in me, it made me more independent, more confident, understand myself better. And I think those are, and be more honest with myself. That was a big one. And I think that those are all building blocks to having a better life, to having more control, more informed decisions about what I want in my life. People I'm friends with, I'm constantly saying, what is the hardest question? The hardest question is, what do you want? So I think that becoming a witch and taking control of my life helps me answer that question better. And when you can answer the question, what do you want? Then you can go for it. Then you can actually set those goals based on the honest answer of what you want. I don't know how I'm going to shorten that to go into a ritual, but that's the basis that I've been thinking about. So, but yes, the Witches Ball is sold out at this point. I'm so sorry anybody who didn't get tickets. Yeah, they I think it was only like 300 tickets or so, but next year. Next year. Also, WitchLab is doing. We're not having a witches ball, but we're doing a thing in January. Our next, like entertainment event is the Baba Yaga Art Show, which is a collective art show, which we are still accepting submissions for. You don't have to have a finished piece. You just have to send us your idea or a sketch or even just, description or, pictures of other work you've done so we get an idea, because we're going to be jurying those entries on the 15th. Or no, the 15th is the deadline. November 15th is the deadline to get us Baba Yaga stuff. And then we are going to reach out to people, I believe, on the 22nd to let you know who's in. And we have a lot of submissions already. And WitchLab we're mostly a retail store, so we have a small amount of space for art, but I'm gonna try to make as much space as I can because we have so many amazing submissions. But don't let that stop you. Submit, send us stuff, and again, just has to be like a sketch or a description. Oh, who did my hair? Drew from the salon on Riverside. The salon on Riverside is on Riverside Drive, and Drew, he's the owner. He did this amazingness. It's hard to see, but there's actually little stripes of burgundy in it too, because I can't lose my red altogether, but mostly dark and healthy feeling, not all crazy. I swear there was times I looked like Doc Brown. Just like all right, let's see some stuff. And yes, Rachel, yes, it is freedom. Being a witch is freedom. It's freedom from other people's bullshit, I find a lot of time. So I'm gonna put that in there. Getting to yes to all the above, especially getting to know yourself and the independence and self-control. Yeah, the sense of control. Yeah, that was a big part for me. I forget. I think it was. Oh, I don't remember who wrote it, and I feel bad about this, and I feel like I've mentioned it before on the show, but it's called "If, When, How." I think. I should have a copy of it here in my office so I can just show it to you guys. But it was a book on witchcraft, and one of the things it was like you have to ask yourself honest questions, and it actually made you write down things, and it's, it says you don't have to be honest with everybody else, but you have to be honest with yourself, otherwise you're gonna go wrong. Oh, and Donna's working on her piece. I'm working on the piece for the Baba Yaga, which is great. That's going to be an amazing show. I'm actually thinking about making it actually a little bit of an entertainment show because I kind of want to do a little presentation because I love Baba Yaga and I've always wanted to make a spooky presentation. Okay, so let's just let's go over some stuff that's coming up real quick. Monthly meetings. Circle of the Dark Mother meeting is always on the first Sunday of every month. So it's this coming Sunday, the 7th. They'll be discussing Kali, which is going to be amazing. Listening to Mark and James and Brandon talk about dark goddesses is wonderful. So you can find that event on the WitchLab Facebook page. WitchLab Book Club. They are the last Sunday of every month. And I believe the author that they are doing this month is Lilith Dorsey. I'm not sure if it's her Orishas, Goddesses, and Buddha Queens, or the Water Magic book, or the newest version of Voodoo and African Traditional Religion that just came out this year. But I know they're doing Lilith Dorsey. And if you want to be a part of that, let me just make this little thing here. You can just go to this link And don't forget to answer the questions, otherwise they won't accept your application. So, and it's turning into more than just a book club, man. I got to tell you, Jean, who has taken over running it, it was started by somebody here, but Jean has taken over, and she's really run with it. They actually did a Samhain ritual. It's become more than a book club. They're actually doing rituals together now. So, and yes, I did see Laura Tempest Zakroff's Baba Yaga hut. That shit's amazing. I'm so impressed by it. Wonder if I can get her to bring it out here to me. Probably not. It's pretty big. But yeah, it's impressive. It's gorgeous. Also, hi, Steve. Oh, and the other thing about Jean, Witch's Ball. Hey, Witch's Ball sold out here, but guess what? You can go to Pittsburgh. It's like 2.5 hours away. They still have tickets. It's on the same night, and Jean is helping run it. So you can go to a Witch's Ball. Oh, Lindy was part of the book club Witch's Ball. So ritual. Sorry, Samhain ritual. Confusing my stuff. That's awesome. I'm so glad that she's still doing that. She gets literally no compensation for doing that. She just does it because she wants to. Let's see. Right. The Witch's Ball's in 3 days. Okay, next Saturday, we've got Estrella Taylor coming to the shop to do a workshop. It's an intuitive witchcraft workshop. It's a make and take. I believe she's going to be helping you guys make charm bags based on your intuition. And Estrella is great. She's amazing. She's actually a Ohio person too. She lives in Dayton, so she'll be driving out. December 4th is our last class for the year. Ivo Dominguez Jr. will be at the shop. He'll be signing books and giving a talk on your inner landscapes. Tickets for that are on WitchLab.com. January and February, we have Maggie Caldwell teaching Mystery of Dreams, and then the Mandala Workshop. And then the last thing I have, February 23rd, Amy Blackthorne will be back on the show talking about her protection magic book. I have a show next week. No, not next week, on the 17th. And I don't know where that deck went. I have a tarot deck. Well, it's the Wanderer's Tarot, and I'll find it eventually. But it seems to be Tarot Month, which is amazing. As you all know, I love tarot. Okay. All right. I think that is all the things that I have to talk to you about. So guess what? It's time to get our guest out here. Let me introduce you to this longtime tarot practitioner, seeker, and author of a really fucking amazing book that I cannot wait to talk about. Victoria Constantino, everybody.
Hi. Hi. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you for being on the show. And thank you for writing this book.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
This is great. Like I said, I love tarot. I love the moon stuff. So those are like kind of my two bases for a lot of my witchcraft. So when Llewellyn sent me the box of books, they were like, "Here's all these people coming out. Who do you want to interview?" And this was the first book I pulled. I was like, oh, this. I don't even read it yet, but I want this.
That's great to hear.
So I know they're my two favorite things. What made you put them together in a book?
So this book was channeled, and I knew that I kind of had some books that were coming to me. I'm a writer anyway, so no surprise there. But I'd never written on this subject before. I'd never written about anything remotely metaphysical, at least not for publication. So I actually, this is my fourth book. And, I went through like a literary MFA program and all of that. And I was just, deeply entrenched in the world of literary fiction and poetry.
Wow.
Yeah. So I ran a nonprofit literary journal for 10 years. I ran a publishing company for 7. My first book was a book of poetry. I went to, I got my MFA in fiction, creative writing. So, this was like a little bit of a departure for me, but it's what I wanted to write about. So this is, it was kind of like coming back to my authenticity. I was just, I love literary fiction and poetry, and I always will, and I still write it. But, this was something that was, I kind of wrote it for me, and I also kind of wrote it for other people. So, it was the kind of thing where I said, okay, being an intuitive, I know that I have some books coming to me. me, and I talked with a lady who, like she was a very powerful psychic and just told me a lot of things. She was like, "Oh, wow, you have all these books you're going to write." And I thought, yes. So, kind of coming from that, I thought, well, where are the books, 5 years later? I had to be ready for this. And so, I just kind of, I worked on receiving, the guidance for this book. I didn't know what I was going to write. I didn't know what it was going to be about. I went into meditation and I said, okay, I would love to, have this idea if I'm ready for it. And in it came finally after 5 years. And so I said, I got the title and I thought that is a great idea. Now what do I do with it? How do I, how do I unite like tarot, which I love, and the moon, which I love? So combining those was my work. That was the, physical on the ground work. But of course, I kind of came up with the structure, and as I was writing it, it was channeled. And so it was just a lot of fun to write. This one, was really written from the heart. If I sit down to write a piece of poetry, it's written from a different place. It's more of like a creative place. But this, was something that I wanted to do in terms, especially of, bringing knowledge and information to people through my filter, like through what I've learned and, the way that I could present it. Every writer, I firmly believe has something so valuable to contribute. It's just how are they going to present it? So, you can talk about the same subject, through 10 books, but if 10 different writers are writing it, you're going to get a lot of different information. So I thought, okay, what is this thing? But, here it is. So that's kind of the story of how Tarot by the Moon came to be. So in a very long roundabout way.
That was not too long a roundabout in any way. That was perfect. So a psychic told you that you had books to write. I hear a lot of people who have these experiences with psychics, and a lot of times it's very general, or it's not so specific. They were like, they gave me kind of information. Yours was real specific. It's like you're going to write these books. I think that's fantastic, and that must it must almost feel like a prophecy, right? Like then you're part of this fate that's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
I think that's lovely and romantic.
Yeah, it is, I guess.
I'm sorry. I have a little bit of a cough, and I forgot my water
Oh.
over there. So I'm just going to go get it really quick.
Of course. Yes.
I'm incredibly professional, I swear. So I ran late getting started, because usually I'm on a couple minutes before, but I got stuck watching Sex Education, the show. And no, I have, not only was I late, I forgot my water, but I have Fuck the Pain Away stuck in my head. So
wow. I don't know that one.
It's a lot. It's a Peaches song, and it's quite graphic. But it's a high school show, so it's weird.
That is a little weird.
I know. I'm getting water. Hold on. I'm coming right back.
So I'm kind of curious, Tiffany, what is your favorite tarot deck? I'm going to interview you because you had to step away. She can't hear me. I'd love to hear from everybody. Like if you could put it in the chat, what is your favorite tarot deck? And do you even
that's
work
a
with
great
tarot?
question. That's an excellent question. And while they're answering, what is your favorite tarot deck?
Me? Oh my gosh. I can't pick just one. So many. Right
you
now.
Asked the question.
Yeah, no, right now it's this miniature Rider-Waite Smith deck that I just love. It's so tiny. It's like I put it in my purse and just carry it around. It's amazing.
The amount of times I wish I had a deck with me that I'm like, oh man. And so I love those little ones. The ones that come in tins are great too, because then they're protected.
Oh yeah. Yep, exactly.
Susie says, I love the Druidcraft Tarot.
Oh yeah.
Tattoo Tarot.
I like that one is too. Really neat. I have seen that one.
Fifth Spirit Tarot. And this might hurt deck. I want to get a reading from that.
Yeah, this might hurt deck is very if that's the one I'm thinking of, I think it's kind of graphic, and it's like just it strikes me as one of those decks that just doesn't hold back. Like the Hermetic Tarot for me, like that one just tells you like it is.
Yeah. Laura says Ancestral Path. Love that one. Elemental Tarot. Oh my God. You guys have such good ones. Herbcraft, Murder of Crows. Man, that one is a fun one.
Great
That is a
name.
new one. It's also really hard to get.
Yeah.
The Wooden Tarot by Skull Garden. I have to look that one up. Wild Unknown. Crystal says it does in fact hold nothing back.
Yeah, it's so true.
Let me see. I really like the Robert. Let me see. The alchemical deck. This guy, Robert Place, I believe it is. I love this one. Yeah, Robert Place.
Nice illustration.
It's gorgeous, and there's a book that goes with it that really gets into history, and it's one of my favorites, and it gets into alchemy and tarot, kind of, putting filters over both of them. It's a lovely other like layer to understand tarot even more. So tarot is a really heady, difficult topic for so many people to get into. I mean, a lot of people start it and they kind of give up. It takes people, I think, years to finally get to a point where they understand it. Did you have, I have so many questions for you. Did you have like an aha moment when the tarot sort of clicked for you and you finally kind of understood it all?
I wouldn't say it was like the lightning bolt strike of yes, I'm enlightened now, but it was more gradual for me. Just working with the cards every day, learning the meanings, and reading different guidebooks too. That's I think what helped me the most. Just seeing different perspectives because my first tarot deck was a Rider-Waite Smith, and so I became very familiar with the guidebook meanings, but I also kind of didn't agree with them. Sometimes it would give sort of conflicting meanings, and I just, I know that's probably like the upright and reversal, indicators, but I just thought that it didn't resonate with me a lot of times for some of them. So, just reading different guidebooks as I got different decks was really illuminating. One tarot deck that I just got, that I'm absolutely in love with is called True Heart Intuitive Tarot by Rachel True, and Rachel True was one of the actresses in The Craft. And so she created, she created a deck. And so it's actually amazing. Her insight is just, it blows me away. So that guidebook I'm having a lot of fun with because I'm seeing the cards in like a different light, just reading through it. So it's pretty great.
I think that helps tremendously. Seeing the cards, not just from the one perspective, because I almost feel like each card has like a current under it that you can go deeper down in the levels of understanding it.
Yeah.
So somebody comes up, like you have a basic understanding of this card, but then somebody introduces another word that's almost like turns on another light that you're like, oh, I get that, and I think that helps. So when I started, and I was definitely one of the people that went back and forth for years. Like I would put my cards away and then I'd find them again randomly. I'd be like, oh, okay. And I'd play with them again. But I got frustrated because of the different books all having different kind of meanings. But I kind of figured there had to be some sort of common thread. And so I just took all 4 or 5 decks that I had at the time and I laid out all the majors. So like Fool to the World, but each deck like on top of it, So then I would just go through and read like everybody's description of the Fool and try to figure out how this can all make sense for one card. And I think that was my intensive study for a couple of weeks. And that was kind of my moment of like, oh, but it took a lot of, and I think that's why it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of dedication. Like you were saying, you just keep working with them. You just keep playing with them. You keep meditating on them. That pulling a card a day thing. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like the study aspect of what you were saying too, like lining them up side by side and looking at them. I wish I'd thought of that 10 years ago. I love it. That might have saved me some time. But yeah, it's definitely, I feel like it's one of those things where it's just, you're working with archetypes and symbols. And because of that, the meanings are really powerful and they're pretty deep too. So like you were saying, the layers, I feel like that's really accurate. I think, when we think about human history and where these archetypes really came from, it's like there's so many layers just looking back through our past and humanity, and where we were, how we got to where we are now, where we've been, and just all the stops along the way, and what that how it kind of filters through the cards. Some of my favorite decks tend to have this really, like, I feel like they do a good job of like distilling the meanings and the archetypes and the symbolism for the decks. And they also kind of it's has to represent all of that. That's a lot. So if you can make this one thing be the distilled essence of this, symbol or this figure, I think that's kind of challenging. So I have a lot of admiration for people who create these tarot decks.
Would you ever think about designing your own deck?
I have thought about it. It's a possibility. I was invited to do one, and I kind of, I gave it a shot. I'm not really sure if I'm gonna, do that or not. I'm such a writer of art, but
Mhm.
it's certainly something that I've talked with people about, and they said, hey, you should do this deck, and they especially love the deck that's on the cover of my book,
Yes.
which is nice. But that is actually that was created by an artist, and I don't think I think she did all of the cards in the deck. I don't know if it's like a deck you could buy, but she's more like a visual artist who designs and sells her work online. So I think that's what it is. So that's not, and I get asked a lot, where can we get that deck? Did you do it? And I'm like, no, I wish. It's great. But yeah, if I did do one, it might look a little something like that though.
I bet she could. I mean, if the artist, who is the artist?
That's a great question. I don't have her name to hand, but I don't think she's listed in the credits.
Yeah, I don't see it. But I mean, if she were to actually come out with a deck, people love decks that go with books, man. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I apologize about my cough again. I'm trying to keep it to myself. Luckily, we're not in person, so
There you go.
go with it too much.
Yeah.
Um, so, uh, so you didn't say what your favorite deck was, though? What deck you use the Rider-Waite? That's right.
I use, I do daily tarot readings on one of my Instagram accounts, which is victoria.constantino.author. And I rotate with like 4 or 5 decks. I use True North Tarot by Prism and Fleur,
Yeah.
which is amazing. It's all like postcards, not postcards, Polaroids of like different places around the world. And it's so neat. They have holographic overlays. That's one of my favorite ones out of the decks that I kind of rotate. Soul Cards Tarot by Christine Fredheim, who's Norwegian. But she is just, she's a deck creator. She's created a whole series of Soul Cards Tarot. You've got like a pink and a black and a white one. So those are a couple of my favorites, but for my other favorites, you'll have to visit my Instagram feed. I think do the marketing plug there.
Teasers. I love it. That's great. Make them go.
Yeah.
So give us your Instagram again.
So it's victoria.constantino.author. Yeah, and then I'm also tarot_by_the_moon. Sorry, that's kind of annoying to say. I should have picked a different one, but that's what it is. So
You love that punctuating things.
yeah.
Crystal Heart here, I think, is talking about the deck that you were talking about, Rachel True. I love Rachel's interpretations and how she uses a high vibe and low vibe interpretation for the cards.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too. It's not just like an upright and a reversal, the way she puts it. The way that it's written too, I feel like, she spends a lot more time focusing on the positive, which I appreciate. And she'll give a little bit of space to the negative or the low vibe interpretation, but it's more focused on the positive. So, yeah.
I would love to see that deck. It's crazy because, being a shop owner, I'm always trying to have as many options, for decks, because I mean, so many of us who are readers are also collectors. And so I'm always trying to find the ones that are, hard to find, that are out there. There are just so many, like, especially now, I have my Facebook feed is just filled with people trying to get Kickstarters for cards. There's so many cards. It's insane right now. So tarot and witchcraft are just kind of blowing up right now. Like it's huge. Do you, so Kobe Michael, who was on my show last month, he just made a post the other day that I thought was really interesting, and I've been thinking about it a lot. He made a post about how even though witchcraft is really um, going through this popularity phase right now, he said we'd have to be careful. But he said that we have to continue to have awareness that not everybody is actually on the same page as us, and that it's really a trend for a lot of people, and that it is still a very dangerous life to live. Uh, I can't stop thinking about it. It's kind of freaking me out a little bit. My question was actually going to start with, how do you feel about this whole boom right now? But now my question is two parts. One, how do you feel about the boom of tarot and witchcraft and its popularity? And two, do you think that it's important for us to be aware?
Definitely. Regarding the boom of witchcraft and the popularity of tarot and things like that, I think it's great. I think it's good that people are, opening up to different ways of doing things, different ways of living life, interpreting life. Tarot is a filter. It's a lens through which we can see and interpret and understand our lives better. Um, I think it's good. Everyone, of course, is on their own path. Everyone sees things and interprets things in different ways. Everyone lives their own life in their own way. But with that, I would say, I think maybe some of the fear comes from where, what if all these people who are just learning witchcraft are practicing it unethically? That would be kind of where my mind goes when you say that. So I think, that just has to do with, personal choice and free will. And, you know, I'm kind of live and let live and let people do as they will, as long as they don't harm anyone, and it
I've heard
just,
that somewhere.
right. Yeah. It sounds familiar, huh? And, but I think it's good. I think we should always protect ourselves though. I think, we could find a million and one things to be concerned about or afraid of or worry us or keep us up at night. I don't think it really does us any good. Just protect yourself and live your life. That would be my advice.
I think that's always good advice. Live your life, don't worry about it, but be ready just in case.
Exactly.
Um, okay, so my next question is so this is your first kind of foray into magic writing. Um, but I mean, obviously you've been doing this for a very long time. You know a lot about the tarot and you know a lot about moon spells and things. So, in your life as a fictional writer, were you a practicing witch? Were you an out practicing witch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, Not until recently, and I'm very private, so I keep it all to myself. The only people that know are the ones who follow me on Instagram. It's not under my real, mostly not under my real name. So, people who know me in real life, business associates, that sort of thing, wouldn't be like, oh, look at her, look at what she's doing. So in many ways, yes. I had advice from someone who owns a shop near me, actually, where I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. And there's an owner of a shop here that's really, he's a practicing witch. He's really wise. I learned a lot from him. And, he said early on, and this is when I was kind of starting really in earnest practicing on the path. I'd always known since I was like a kid that I had abilities and all of that. But, as far as like lining up with this and practicing it, that didn't happen until a whole lot later. And so, he said something to me. He said, it's always good to protect yourself. You can't control what other people do and say, and that's true. So, I think we have to be careful. We have to be wise and we have to be smart about it. Knowing and trusting our instincts on who to tell and who not to tell is
Mhm.
probably a good thing. You want to protect yourself. You don't want someone, starting a smear campaign against you because they're very dogmatic or think that what you think is wrong or anything like that. So I think, we just have to be careful, but that's really with anything in life, just protect yourself in whatever ways that you feel guided to do.
And I think I think your instinct to not tell people in your professional life about your witchiness, I think that might be something of what Kobe was talking about, as in, uh, not everyone is going to be friendly to what we do. right? So in somebody in a professional setting where witchcraft is not a part of it, the word witchcraft can actually hurt you. It can put a filter on you that it could be negative in a lot of people's eyes. Um, and uh, in my life, it's everything. I own a shop. I'm obviously very, very public. I do a live show. I don't really have any fear that anyone's going to find out because
Right.
I don't have anything to lose that would be, I don't have family that would be, have a problem with it, or, or a boss or a landlord or something that could cause me, to lose something important, and that's where I think that the scary part comes in for a lot of us. And even though it's become very popular to talk about witchcraft and to practice and things like that, it's that the world is much bigger than what we see, that there are still very dangerous people out there who would want to see us get shut down. So I think that was a tangent. So that's a whole side thing. But I understand why you would keep it separate. Then I completely respect people not being public or very open about it in their professional lives,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of people out there who could have control, who could actually do damage to our lives.
Yeah, that's for sure. No, that might have been a tangent, but I think it was an important one. I always feel like when we talk about things like that, there's a reason, like someone's meant to hear it. So that might be the case, but it's just, I know that I've heard plenty to support that, to say, okay, I know this happened to this person. It also kind of depends on where you live in the world. I happen to live in the deep South. It's the Bible Belt. So, I kind of understand the general attitudes that I'm dealing with, at least with the people that I know.
Hmm.
It's not like that everywhere. If you travel South Florida, for example, I worked there and it was a totally different environment. People were very out about this. Some of them even did spells in the workplace. Honestly, it was just like a really quick thing. Like my computer was frozen and they did a thing and it was like back up and running. I was like, thanks, this is great. Gotta love Miami.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty great. It was totally different. I was not prepared for that. So, but
It seems like a much freer environment, right? That whole, like, just
yeah,
free to be yourself and to do this really strange thing to a computer to make it work, right? And nobody bats an eye about it. They're like, no,
right.
no, that's
No big
that's
deal.
just what we do because it works.
Yeah.
I love that. I have a little bowl of black salt that I put next to my computer on days when it's real bad, and it works. It's crazy because I'll be like, oh, we're slow. Where's my bowl? Where's my bowl? And then I put it here, and then suddenly my things start to open and everything starts to work smoothly. It's crazy. But in my line of work, it's pretty common for us to do weird shit too.
It's like expected.
It kind of is. It's like, what kind of weird stuff do you have on your computer that's making it work today? Rachel says, my parents used to live in Birmingham. It's not a safe space for anyone who isn't. For anyone who isn't like them, right? And that gets to be the thing, is that if you're not like the people who live there, then depending on how strict they are about wanting you to be like them, that can be a scary thing. That can be dangerous.
Yeah.
and and I think that the danger is, and this is what Kobe was talking about, the danger is that we're being lulled into a sense of security because if you if you go to Kroger, you can get triple moon pillows, and if you go to Michael's, you can buy all of these like beautiful home decor things, and which it's this wonderful time where, like, if you actually like dark witchy stuff and dark witchy atmosphere and home decor, you can go buy it just about anywhere. And some people are upset about that because you used to have to either do it yourself or go find it. I am a believer that when the trend hits and it just happens to be your thing, scoop that shit up, right? Like when platform shoes like are in style, I buy all my shoes that time. I just keep wearing them for years. But
There you go.
but I don't mind the trend One, because it makes dark, fun stuff more available for us. But two, like you said, it gets the message out there to people who might not have heard it. It makes it more accessible to people. People can, you know, it's easier for them to see the benefits of it when it's put out there so much more openly, which I think is important because, you know, if people can see the benefits of witchcraft, all the stuff we've been talking about, freedom and loving your true self and being able to follow your path because you can finally see it. I think these things are beautiful.
Yeah.
When did you find witchcraft?
That is a perfect segue from what you were saying into what how I can answer this question. So I found it because, you know, it was available and, you know, it was just, I kind of stumbled into it. So, you know, exactly what you were saying, but it wasn't like a Michael's or anything. It was an actual like metaphysical shop. And I was about 14 or 15 and I'd never been in one before. I was with my best friend. I think she just got her first car. And she was like, "Oh, let's go to this place." And I said, "Okay, sure." You know, walked in, didn't know what to expect. And, you know, I just fell in love with all of it, the crystals, the music, the books, the tarot cards, and found my first deck there, the Rider-Waite Smith deck. And, you know, the rest was history. You know, I just connected with something in that shop that I knew was relevant to me. It felt authentic to me. And I felt like I was in a place that was very resonant with who I really was. And, you know, my interest and my life path and all of that. I just knew it when I walked in there. I could feel it. And so that was really, really wonderful. And I'm just glad that it was available to me. You know, had I lived in, you know, maybe a different country or a different state, I may never have had that opportunity. And I would still be wondering, you know, what is all this? You know, how can I make sense of it? You know, are there books I can read? That sort of thing. So
Yeah.
it was very serendipitous, but not uncommon though. You know, I think most big cities now have at least, you know, a couple dozen such shops. And you know, but I was not in a huge city, but you know, there it was, and it was great. So it was a happy, it was a happy memory, I think, because you know that was really what I connect to my first kind of little, and not an awakening, but like an inkling of, you know, this is me. So
Yeah. You felt like that it's like a little spark, right?
yeah.
It's like a little like why does that feel so nice? Why does this feel so comfortable? So what was your first book that you bought or read?
On this subject, it was, oh, you know what? It was called Be Here Now.
Okay.
I love it. Yeah. It was Buddhism, and it just resonated so much with me, and it kind of defined that era of my life. I had never read anything like that, not even remotely, and you know, it was life changing for me.
Be Here Now. I've never read it.
Mhm.
Who wrote it?
I can't remember the author's name right now, but I believe it was. No, I'm not even going to guess because I don't want to get it wrong. So,
Yes, I understand.
but it's
Hey,
amazing.
watchers, if any of you want to, you know, look up Be Here Now and tell us who wrote it, that would be cool. My story is very similar. I walked into a shop when I was 15, had no idea that this was a real thing, you know, and it was just like, uh, uh, it changed, right? Like, I think that was like, I don't know if you look at the lover's card as like a fork in the road, but I often look at it that way. And I think that was my lover's card. I found something I didn't know existed and it changed my life.
Yeah.
I love that. John Kabat-Zinn.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim. Christmas. I love Jim. He's amazing. Be Here Now. Oh, wait, Ram Dass. Wait,
Ram Dass. Okay, that's it.
all right.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Ram Dass. All right. So you
That
were
might be an author suggestion. John
maybe.
Kabat-Zinn.
Okay. So Ram Dass. Uh, so it was a Buddhist book, and that was sort of your first foray into it. Um, are you Wiccan or like eclectic or
Yeah,
have,
I don't like labels, but I
and
guess
that's
if you
fine.
were to, yeah, if you were to call me anything, it would probably be eclectic. Because, you know, I really resonate with Buddhism and with Wicca and, you know, just all sorts of things. So very eclectic.
I find that most of us these days, I mean, there are definitely still Wiccans who are strictly that, um, but I find that so many people, we build our own practice because covens have they've always been hard to find. Like it's even in Columbus where we have a lot of witches. We have a lot of witches. We have a lot of druids. We have a lot of practitioners of all kinds, and it's really hard to find a group to practice with. So I think that so many of us around the world, we just find our way, right? Like we kind of piece it together with things that are important to us. And that's one of the beautiful things about witchcraft is that you can practice it without having to dogmatically follow anything.
Yeah,
Love
100%.
that.
Yeah,
Love that.
so much freedom in that.
Um, so let me ask you this. Do you do readings for yourself?
Yes.
Are
Mhm.
those the readings that you do on the Instagram page, or are those for your followers?
And
See, I'm
so
giving you a cough. I'm so sorry.
it's catching.
I-
Pardon.
It's like yawning. You can't help it.
Goodness. I know. Contagious, even across the miles.
I
Good heavens.
know.
Um, yeah, so the readings that I do on my Instagram feed are very much for other people. So those are for the collective.
Got you.
My readings that I do for myself, I keep them very personal. I don't share that. So
Sure.
it's just, I know some people who do, and that's fine. I am really, really private when it comes to a lot of things, and that's one of them. So it's just, kind of keeping myself self-contained, I guess. And part of that is protection too. I think kind of tying into what we were talking about earlier. I think anytime you give away something very personal like that, it's kind of taking a risk. And so I always like to tell people, do what you feel is right for you.
Mhm.
It's okay to share, and it is, because people make connections, meaningful connections. But I would never recommend that anybody do something that they feel is going to put them in like a fear trap, that sort of thing.
Sure.
That's never a good idea. But there's kind of a line between common sense and sharing too much, I feel. But it's all just so individual. Some people share so much and never have any issue. So, I think it's just kind of protecting yourself.
It's interesting. I think that people who share, people who share, and I'm going to go ahead and use the word overshare. People who overshare, I think, tend to numb their audience, as in people stop listening so much.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they tend to be safe also, right? Like and I understand what you're saying is that because I tend to be pretty private about a lot of things too, right? I can talk about getting my hair done and stuff like that, but like my daily stuff, I don't really talk about ever. In even my Facebook posts and stuff like that, they're very much either shop related or dog related or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that because you don't share a lot, that when you do, people do listen more.
Mhm.
I do think that. I think that I understand being protective about not wanting to give up too much personal information because people will hold weird grudges that you don't even aware of because you've hit a nerve in them that
Yeah.
and as you know, it's not about you, it's about them, but that doesn't stop them from holding grudges and and sometimes being weird about things
Right.
and that kind of stuff always makes me nervous. Like
Mhm.
even though don't think I have anything to worry about, I'm always worried every time I make a post that I could be exposing something or putting myself out there and could, have backlash and all of that. So I think that um I think what you do is like, being protective and being private. I actually have a lot of respect for that and I understand it completely. Um, but that I think that when you do share, when you do speak, people are more apt to pay attention.
Right. I think that's true. Another thing along the same lines that I would say is, it's always good to keep in mind that other people, when they project, whether it's their feelings or thoughts onto you, that's actual energy that's flowing towards you. Then we remember law of attraction teachings and, how energy kind of works. And so if we're, keeping ourselves protected, in, whatever ways, I mean, there are so many ways to do that, but I know that, I've heard of someone who works energetically with clients, and they could see like different thought forms and projections around the person because of the way other people kind of were seeing them, which wasn't accurate.
Huh.
Um, yeah, and so if you think about just kind of how energy works, and protecting yourself is just super important, and also doing like clearing rituals too. So that's another reason. And I think too, like when you're in the limelight or in the spotlight, you kind of have to do a little bit more of that sometimes. Like for you and me, we're in front of an audience and people are going to see this. It's just, making sure that you're doing the clearing, so that, whatever is, unwelcome, can just, be dissipated. But yeah, so.
So is there something that you do like after doing this interview, do you have a practice that you
Yeah.
will do to sort of clear yourself?
Yeah, and I think that's anytime you're interacting with people too. So it's not just a situation like this, where you're on video, but yeah, I think one thing that you can do is just ground. You can visualize white light around yourself, and sort of ground, and just if you're feeling like keyed up, or if you were in a tense situation, like, or a conversation with somebody else, you can just ground all of that, because that can be excess energy. Anything that's not yours is going to be excess energy, so you can just ground it. And then surrounding yourself with white light. There are a lot of ways that you can do that, though. Some people do layers, like you can do a layer of white light, gold light,
Hmm.
diamond light, rainbow, a matrix, like a gold matrix. So it just kind of depends on what works for you and what resonates.
I know there's so many different practices that I want people to hear about as many of them as possible
Yeah.
because one of them will be the right one for them. I've never heard that one about the gold
Oh,
light and then the all of the diamond light.
yeah.
So
Oh, okay. Well,
I love it.
yeah.
Yeah, tell me more about it.
Okay, so what you can do is, and I would say too that cultivating a practice of visualization can take, it takes time. Like learning the tarot takes time, learning the meanings of the cards. So, with this sort of thing, if you can visualize as much as, kind of the stronger your visualization, the more energy you're going to draw towards you. And the more you're going to kind of ground it into reality. So, you can just get into a meditative space and you can sit or lie down, whatever is comfortable. Um, call in, breathe in white light. Deep breaths 3 times in and out. See it as white light around you, and it's kind of dissipating anything that might appear as like dark spots or splotches. That's energy that's really not good for you. Once that's gone, you can breathe in and out 3 times gold light, and strengthen that sphere of protection around you. So if you think of it around you, like 3 feet or so past, if you have your arms outstretched,
Okay.
3 feet above your head and 3 feet below your feet. And so it's all around you, and the back too. And then you can do like a sacred geometrical golden grid around that, reinforcing it. This is just, I mean, you can do literally any order you want to. This is just a suggestion. A rainbow layer, like an opalescent, pearlescent white layer. What that'll do is clear energies and bring you the energies that you might need or lack. And then around that, you can do diamond light, which is like a hard outer layer of protection. So all of the different light qualities, they have different energies and associations, and so different colors have different qualities, that sort of thing. So
I
that's
love
just
it.
that's one
That's
way.
awesome. That's
Great.
beautiful. I think I think that I think that every time I hear about somebody else's grounding, like centering, grounding, protecting practice, I feel like it strengthens mine. Because I
Great.
feel like I don't know because I've always had my own that I've done. Um, and at one point we had a woman named Rose, Mystic Rose. She owns a shop in Ohio also. She's amazing. She came to the shop one day and did a class for empaths. It was specifically for empaths, how to protect yourself. And I learned so much that little pieces that I added to my own practice that day. And then I took Byron Ballard, she did a protection class for us. It was like a general practice and protection class. And I learned so much from that day. And every little piece helps me visualize better, and maybe a little more. And just learning that from you today, I love it. I love the gold layer. I love the opalescent layer at the end, like all of this or the diamond layer too. But they all help me to kind of strengthen my vision. Sort of like we were talking about how every time you learn somebody else's view of the cards, it strengthens your own because it gives it a new aspect.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's how I feel like we just need to keep talking about grounding and protecting and how to do these basic energies as witches, because like Byron said, we're going to need to be able to do them very fast eventually. Like she's like, there's going to come a time where we're going to need all of our witches to be doing their power. Like we're all going to need to be able to do it like fast. So I always think about that. She talked a lot about practicing, like actually doing it when you're at a stop sign or a stoplight, where you actually have like a minute to sit there. When you're just, sitting down, taking a break from work, take 30 seconds and do this visualization, because every time you do it, it strengthens you and the power of it. Love that.
Yeah, that is so true. And then, with time and practice, when you get better, you can do it while you're having a conversation with somebody. It's just kind of a thing that's like running in the background. You're listening to them, you're engaged, but you've got this, thing running in the background where you're visualizing it, but you're also still engaged on like the physical, like grounded level, talking to somebody. So
one of the things that I used to do at parties, because I would get overwhelmed with other people's energies. And so I would remind myself that I have the ability to set a limit, the bubble, if you will. I have the ability to set that limit, and then I can fill all of the energy within that bubble with my own energy. Like I put myself into it. So I fill the space that is surrounding me, as opposed to everybody else's energy filling my space. And that used to help me tremendously. And I could do it while having a conversation.
Yeah.
Because I could feel their energy pushing on me. And I was just like, no, I need your energy to back way the fuck up, because mine needs to go around me.
Yeah. Isn't that so interesting too? You can feel it. And I know exactly what you're talking about, because I felt it, in like social gatherings. And there's just this one person sometimes who just, their energy just fills the room. They're just magnanimous and, huge in terms of their energy. And, that's fine. It's good for them, but don't push mine back,
Right.
So
yeah, mine gets to be around me.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a couple of comments that I wanted to talk about real quick. Crystal Hart says, I'm going to have to resume a grounding and visualization practice now.
Yay.
Seriously, do it every day. Do it when you're in your car. Do it, when you are stirring your coffee in the morning. Whenever time you have, that whenever you think of it, right? It's like, that's the best way to do it. Is whenever you think of it, oh, I'm thinking of it now. Okay, I'm gonna do it now. Because every time you do it, it makes it stronger. It makes you stronger. When you connect with those energies, my visualization also includes going down, right? Like pushing energy down and then drawing from, and then up and then drawing down from, and bringing them together. And it's something that if you just keep doing it, it gets faster. Like just explaining it takes much longer than it takes for me to do.
Yeah.
But you just have to keep doing it. And when you start, do it slow. Picture those tree roots going down. Picture the white light going up and the energy exchange happening. Do it slow at first. Start it slow so you really get that visualization set. And once you've got it, then you can go really fast.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
And Betty Ann says, we need an artistic visual interpretation of that layering light.
That would
I want
be beautiful.
That too. I want somebody do that for us and submit it to WitchLab so that we can see it, because I would love that. And Lindy was talking about how what I was saying before about how it's hard to find a coven, it's hard to find a group to practice with. It's challenging to find people this is Lindy. I think it's also challenging to find people with similar practices in order to practice with. It makes it even more difficult. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we are a bunch of solitary practitioners, which makes it really hard for us to get together. Um, but I think that if we can agree on some basic things like what's important in a ritual, and if you actually had a group, you could switch up who writes the ritual, who leads the ritual, so it's not always the same type every time. Um, but like if you had like basic understanding stuff, I think we could. But I think the hardest part about it isn't finding one that jives with you. Honestly, the hardest part is starting one. Like being the person who steps up and says, I'm going to do this. Do you guys want to get together? Because I've thought about it. And then I'm like, wait, I can't even run the WitchLab book club, let alone a whole other thing. So, but you know, I'd be one of those people who would go.
Yeah.
But yeah. Crystal says, I guess I always thought that I only needed to do it before a big energetic working or at the beginning of a day. If it wore off, I wasn't doing it correctly. But to incorporate it into everyday life is brilliant, and re-energizing it throughout the day is equally so. And that is, I agree, it's brilliant. It's not mine. It's so many witches before me.
Yep.
And so, but I take that to heart. And, you know, uh, it's almost cliche at this point, but it's called practice for a reason. Like it's witchcraft is a practice. You have to do it because and as Byron Ballard says, if you do it, if you practice it all the time, then when you need it, it's going to be strong and it's going to be there.
Right. That does happen sometimes. I mean, when you don't expect it, you know,
It
you could
does.
be like shopping or something in public and, you know, here comes wham, this energy comes at you, or in traffic. You know,
Oh,
I've been on my fair share of road trips. So, you know, just driving like as an empath, just driving down the freeway, I will get a localized pain, you know, ankle, neck, name it, whatever. And I know that I've just driven through some energy. You know, someone left an energetic imprint. They were in pain. Pain does that. You leave energetic imprints in the, you know, in the energy around you when you're hurting, when you are, you know, on the other side of it, like when you're really excited or happy. And so, you know, you can feel that. And, you know, I've been to places too where it was just so joyful and happy, just like this bubbly energy. And the opposite is also true. And so, you know, that's one of those examples where it's really great to just be able to wham, you know, energy field around me, and just visualize it.
and if you think about where people, I mean, because happiness and pain, but also
Right.
rage and anger and
So true.
resentment, that is on the road all the time, like
Unfortunately. Yeah.
all the time. It's I mean, I actually had a friend here in Columbus this a few months ago. Somebody cut him off, and so my friend flipped him off, and the guy pulled a gun.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, so you're like,
That's
people on the
crazy.
road are way scary these days, and
Yeah.
I think that there's just so much anger. There's so much people are just they're just ready to flip on you.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, I've passed people who were going too slow. And when I passed them, they got angry and then started driving erratically, like terrifyingly erratically,
Yeah.
like sped up, got in front of me and were like swerving and like yelling at me. And I'm like,
Wow.
what is happening? I try to be a pretty calm driver. I really don't like the feeling of getting angry. Um, Dr. Phil, one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Phil is that we get angry when our expectations are violated. So if we expect everyone on the road to be a good driver and to make good decisions and to think like us, uh, we are going to get mad all the time because
Right.
our expectations are going to be constantly violated. That people drive terribly and they make terrible
True.
decisions, and I swear half the time they don't know which lane they're supposed to be in. But if you expect it, if you expect that when you get into traffic there is going to be some madness, you're less likely to get upset and get enraged and ruin your day,
Yeah.
which is what I try to keep in mind. I'm I'm almost like a I don't know what I am, but it's kind of the point when I'm driving and someone's doing something crazy, I'm like, "Buddy, buddy." I start calling everybody buddy as opposed to asshole, which is good. I think it's a step in the right direction,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, "Whoa, buddy, whoa, buddy." Which I just and nothing is worse than dropping and picking up kids off at school because nobody has worse decision-making parents than worse decision-making skills than the other parents at every school, I'm pretty sure.
I think that's pretty much universal, yeah. It's gotta be.
It's the one thing that makes me crazy. And the kids are in the car for most of it, so I just try to calmly explain, right? I'm like, "No, that's okay. It's all right. We have to that's we all trying to get to the same place. It's gonna be okay."
Exactly. Are you gonna remember any of this in 5 years? Does it really matter?
Right, right, and why get so mad about it? Why
Yeah,
tax your own body? You know, that hurts us.
yeah.
Alright, I'm definitely talking way more than you are, so I should probably ask you some questions. Okay, so have you started on a new book?
Yes, I have. I can't tell you what it's about or the working title, but there is a working title and there is a subject and it's very exciting and I'm so sorry. I think it's like vague booking or something. Sorry in advance. Why did I even say it? Can't tell you
Nothing but
anything
bait
about it.
here, just teasers, just
Yeah.
teasers.
I know, right?
Well, how about when?
Well, um, that's a good question.
And I know that's the hardest question because you don't have a lot of control over that.
Yeah, yes and no. My life is really busy. I just started a new job, and so I'm working like 12, 15-hour days, and it's just
Oh,
like yeah, so I'm trying and I'm hoping that it will, come to fruition in the next like 4 months or so, as far as, something I can say, here's a proposal, let's see about taking the next steps here. So yeah.
so you don't even have a proposal yet, you just have an idea.
It is a proposal in the works.
And that's great,
So,
and that I
yeah,
understand keeping secret. I do because, you don't wanna let too much out there before you've kind of put it in
definitely.
your I don't know what the right word is, but until you figured out your vessel or the way that you're gonna present it, I think that is something you should keep close to the chest.
Yeah. I would say even until you're done with it and it's completely finished. Because I do feel like when you talk about something that is in progress, just talking about it and having other people's interest in it just deflates it. So you want to keep all the energy contained. But
Interesting.
yeah, yeah,
Interesting, because it's funny because a lot of times I get authors on and I wanna talk to them about their current book, the book that I've read, and all they wanna talk about is their new book.
it's so exciting. I want to
It
talk
is.
about it too, but I can't. I'm holding back here.
Well, you have restraint, and I respect that. I do. I think that
Thank you.
restraint is a beautiful thing because it really does, it builds that energy, right? That,
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
you're compressing the spring right now.
Yes, precisely. It's like under a pressure cooker, and yeah,
Yeah.
I get why they want to talk about it. It's so exciting. Yeah, it's quite awesome. Yeah, and just that feeling of starting a new book is just like exhilarating, and that's all you can think about. So
And you said so you ran a literary magazine for 10
I
years.
did.
Is that correct?
Yeah, I did. I sure did.
That's
That
amazing.
was it was fun. That was a lot of fun.
What was the name of that?
It was called Prick of the Spindle, an allusion to the Sleeping Beauty story. So yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it wasn't a fairy tale journal. It was all like literary fiction, nonfiction, short stories, drama, art, film, all of it.
That's amazing. How did you get involved with that?
I have wanted to be an editor since I was a teenager, and I read the classics and realized there were mistakes in the classics to my
Ah,
horror. I was like, I'm going to
we
be an
can do
editor.
better, people.
I'm going to fix this. This is like a nationwide epidemic. I'm going to fix it.
So you're gonna be the change. That's what you're gonna
Yeah,
do. You're gonna
exactly.
be the
Yeah,
change that you wanna see.
Right. I didn't go into policy. I went into writing. There you go, or editing, and writing. But yeah, but so that was really born out of my, like having a bachelor's degree in English literature wasn't enough to get my foot in the door to a very competitive industry where I could say be an editor or even intern as an editor. I was finding it very competitive. And so I said, well, I want to be an editor. I'm going to be an editor. I'm going to start my own journal. And I did.
Hot
So,
damn.
yeah. Yeah. And then I ended up getting a position as a managing editor with a a women's lifestyle magazine. So, yeah, that was fun. So, yeah, but, 10 years and I had children and I was like, okay, it was just time. Sometimes, when something has run its course and it had, and sadly, but, it was a lot of fun. I learned a ton. So it was
It's like you created your own resume on that, though.
definitely, yeah.
You know,
And I
you were
felt like
like,
such an imposter.
oh man,
Yeah,
that shit is real.
yeah,
Imposter syndrome.
big time.
When you create your own, when you create your own job,
Mhm.
you're like, well, I want to be an editor, so I'm just going to create something to be an editor of. I love that.
Right.
And I think and so many people find that really commendable. I think it's amazing. Anybody who doesn't can fuck right off because that's
Yeah,
amazing. But you can't help but feel a little bit impostery. You can't help but be like, is someone
yeah.
going to call me out on this? Like, is it, why me? Why am I, qualified to do this? I think that's something that happens to a lot of us, especially when we are creating our own path, right?
Definitely. Yeah,
Ugh. You're
yeah.
like, well, I don't see a way, so I'm gonna hack one out. I'm gonna make one right here.
And I did. And you know what? Damn, I'm glad I did it. I'm so glad I
Yeah,
did it.
hell yeah, I'm glad you did it too. And I think that
Yeah,
it's such a brave fucking move. And
thank you.
yeah, I think it's wonderful. And somehow it's gotten you into writing magic books,
Yeah,
which I
well,
absolutely love. Okay, so I have a question about there are a million spreads. Do you know how many spreads are actually in the book?
I could have told you a year ago.
Fair enough. Fair
I don't
enough.
remember.
I
A
would say
lot, a whole lot.
ballpark. There's 12 months and what, maybe five or so spreads per
At
month.
least 5 per
At
month. I want to
least
say there's like 80 something, maybe
there's
88.
there's a lot, and they're amazing. So I know you said that you channeled it. Was it the spreads too that you channeled?
Yeah, definitely. I'm also an artist. And so, when you're doing art, you get into the flow state. It's so much fun. That was like art because I did have to do the illustrations for those. And you like turn them in with my manuscript so they could see like what I was going for, my vision for the spreads. With this one, like I was kind of overseeing the same types of spreads like side by side. Celtic cross, this and that. Those are great. Don't get me wrong. I just wanted something different. And I do still use those, by the way. Past, present, future, that,
Mhm.
all of those and like the traditional ones. But I just said, I want to do something unique and original to this book. I don't want it to be the same old. And so I did one like in a spiral. And I've seen one or two others since that, since I did that. That have kind of created those unique spreads. But there's like the flower of life and all of that. So I wanted to do something unique and original. So to me, it was art, and it was a lot of fun. So I designed them, just kind of on my iPad and just drew them out, and it was just it was a lot of fun. So
Here's the tuning into the subconscious one
yeah,
that is it's just fantastic. I love this. I love that it's just like rooting down in. Uh, yeah, and then you've got a spiral for looking within. There's so many spreads. I love new spreads. I love them. I think that they are so much fun. When I was doing primarily readings uh, for my job, when I was mostly just a reader, I would just try to find new spreads. Something interesting. There was a WTF spread that was floating around for a while that I did like a whole special on.
cool.
I was like, if you come in and get a WTF spread reading, I will give you half off because I just want to do a bunch of these. But yeah, these are so amazing. And okay, and I see that you have the moon the monthly names in here. And I know there's a lot of different names for the month. Which pattern did you follow for your
Yeah,
monthly moon names?
there are so many names for every moon, as you said, because we have all of these different traditions contributing their different names, and kind of depending on where they were and what the climate was like, you have a good mixture of names. So how did I pick? I kind of picked the ones that I felt most resonant with me, the ones I was familiar with, the ones that I thought, okay, the note like November is the beaver moon, great, that resonates. It's all about hard work and, just like whittling away. And to me, that's like November energy all the way. And, the cold moon and all of that, the flower moon, and it just kind of tells us what's going on at that time of year. And so, when I created the spreads and the rituals for every month, it corresponds with that full moon that's in the month.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I just distilled the energies of the moon, to kind of get a hold of what they were all about. What is the February moon all about? And just creating rituals and spreads based on that.
Yeah, really get into that mind space of what that month feels
Mhm.
like.
Right. Yeah.
It's funny, the older I get, the more I realize I have relationships with each month.
Yeah.
You know, I I feel ways about each one as they get here. And when I was younger, it was real easy to have ones that you knew how you felt about December. Everybody knows how they feel about December because, presents and things. And then there's your birth month, right? And that's very special. And then I think you learn your siblings' birth months and you kind of move out from there. But as you kind of get older, you start to realize how you feel in each month and how the turning of the seasons affects you, different holidays that come up that are important to you, stuff like that. I have learned that I hate March. I hate March. I hate
Sorry.
it. And I hate to say that. My daughter's born in March. There's a lot of great things that happen in March. Um, COVID started in March, though. That's a thing. But it didn't start. The shutdowns and stuff started in March.
Yeah.
But that's when I am done. I am done with winter. And I mean, in Ohio, March is one of those things where it can be gorgeous and then snowing. And then, it's just constant back and forth. Um, but yeah, by the time March is here, I am so done with winter
Yeah.
that I've realized that's when I should be taking vacations. I'm like, that's when I should be going somewhere warm because if I don't get it soon, I'm gonna go crazy. But yeah, but I just feel like so my point is I have a long rambling point. My point is that I could see how sitting and channeling that month and thinking through that and how you feel during it could really help you, one, identify which of those names you're going to use. Because you didn't go from one pantheon, right? Or like one tradition.
No, it's kind of the diaspora. I think it was just, a lot of them were Native American names. A
Okay.
lot of them were. Yeah, the great majority. And so I wanted to honor that tradition, having like an nth of a degree of Native American in my background. I thought, I would love to just know more about that. Um, I guess every tradition that's contributed to our practices and what we do now, it's Celtic, it's Norse, it's, Native American, they all contribute so much. I wanted to include more in this book, but that would have been kind of off topic. So that might be another subject of interest for me in the future, but yeah, it's all very fascinating.
What is this? This is June. I'm just going to show people some of the spreads. This is pruning the branches, which is really amazing. So when I've had people that I've read for ask me this question. I've never really had another tarot reader ask me this question, but I've discussed it. Okay, let me just get to the question. So when you are planning to do a spread, um, how do you sort of prepare the cards for that? Like people are always like, well, what if you laid them out different? Then you'd have totally different answers. Like, how do the cards know? How do you answer that question?
Yeah, I think the layouts can affect the card's interpretations in the sense that if you have, um, for example, two figures on cards that are facing each other, or, where are they in relation to each other? Like if you move the cards in the spread, if you had one sort of up here, the other one down here, is one like having like, I don't know, a sword pointing up and the other one's like running this way, that can affect the way that you interpret them. So to a point, I think the spread itself can impact your interpretation in the reading. With these, I kind of stress in my book, really make it your own. Change the questions, change the spread if you want to, change the position of the cards. This is just a guide, it's a starting point. So it's always good when you kind of tailor it. Maybe you're feeling like doing, 3 cards straight in a row, do that. There's a reason that you're feeling that way. So I would just say honor that.
Your intuition. Go with your instinct, right?
Yep, always.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. It's one of those things where I've heard this before, that there is no wrong way to do tarot. And I really truly believe that. Like, I think
100%.
that, yeah, if there is a way that you do it and you are comfortable with it and you are comfortable with the results that you get, that is the way you should do it. And
Exactly.
don't let anybody tell you different.
Yeah.
Even the, other people will teach a different way, and that's great. That's another way that you can, take that in and learn from it, but you don't need to change what you're doing if it works for you.
Right. Yeah, I've heard a lot about right and wrong ways to read tarot, and I don't agree with any of it. If it resonates with you, cool. To each their own. But like there's one, you can't buy your own deck. Someone has to give it to you. What? I'm sorry. No.
Boo.
There's another
That's
one.
gatekeeping at its finest.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's about empowerment, or it should be. This is a tool to help you. You can use it to connect with the divine, with your higher self, to answer questions, to kind of take a peek down the road. Where's this situation going? What can I do that's going to be in my best and highest aspect, that sort of thing. I mean, you can use it in any way you want to. And yes, you can read tarot for yourself, because I've heard that one too. That's just silly. So
I've heard that too. And I understand that it can be difficult to read for yourself.
mhm.
I totally get that. I've read for many readers, and I actually love reading for readers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard that people, they're afraid that they're reading the cards the way they want to, as opposed to being honest about like how would they have read it for somebody else. I'm a fan of reading cards cold, as in like I don't want to know your question. We don't have to talk about it beforehand. I like to just do it, and I just kind of talk at them. A lot of times people will record, like they'll, like get out their phone and just do like a recording of me talking through the cards, which is great because half the time later on I have no idea what I said. It's just a stream that comes out.
Yeah.
And that's why it was great, like doing them online for a little bit, doing them on Zoom, whereas I would just send them the recording and then they'd have it so that if they had a question, they could go back and watch it again.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes, because I've had people sit there and like feverishly try to take notes. Like, good luck, because I talk fast sometimes.
That's channeling. I mean, it's just coming through in a stream, and it's just this information that's just nonstop. Yeah, it's like turning on a tap.
It is.
There it is.
It is, and it's funny because when I am reading, it's when I get a word that doesn't make any sense to me for the card, and I say it anyway. That's when they cry. Every time.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
I know, and it's weird, but and I'm not saying this about me, but about a lot of readers, is that there's almost like this mark of feeling like you've made it once you've made somebody cry. Have you ever heard that?
It's terrible.
I know it's terrible. I know, but you know what? So Mystic Rose, the person I was talking about before, who did the class on empath work, she is a palm reader and a tarot reader. And when she would come, before she had her own shop, she would come visit us for like a day or two. And when she would, like, I swear, everybody who left her tent was in tears.
Yeah.
And so when I would tell other people, to go see her, I'd be like, just keep in mind, most people cry. It's like a it's almost like a badge, right? Like or a certificate of like authenticity. Like, no, she's real good. She makes people cry all the time. It's weird. But I feel that when you touch people in that way, when you get into the situation that they're in, the pain that they're dealing with, a lot of times it's something that nobody else has recognized, and then they just kind of let go, because
Yeah,
you've hit that spot
yeah.
that they've been trying to protect, you know?
Yeah, and there it is, like, laid bare.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, they're feeling that resonance too, even if it's not like an emotionally painful situation. When the reader says something that just really resonates, things line up for them, and it's just that whoosh, that emotional, like, feeling or release or just realization, like, wow, that's it. I just found the answer I was looking for via this person. So yeah, it can be an amazing experience. I've been on the receiving end of the tears for a reading before, so I know the feeling,
Yeah.
but it's powerful.
Yeah, yeah. So Jean, this is the person who runs our book club, said, yeah, crying means you hit the nail on the
Yeah.
proverbial head. And it's absolutely true. Yeah. And like I said, a lot of times it's that time where it doesn't make any sense for me at the time. But when I say it, it's just like, whoa. Um, but I find that being open, like during a reading is the most important thing. And again, I like to do it cold. The less I know the person, the better. The less I know about what's going on in their life, the better. I definitely don't want to know what their question is. How do you feel about that? Do you do it that way? Or
Um,
do you get them to
yeah.
ask a question?
You know, I've only done a handful of readings for other people that weren't like social media posts.
Okay.
Um, and, then some of them I know really well, friends and family. The ones that I've read for cold, I knew nothing about them. And it was just, the cards that came forth. It was a real quick reading, like a 3 card reading when I was doing book signings. And, so it was just in and out, and a lot of times they would say, this isn't going to take long, is it? I want the reading, but is it going to take more than 5 minutes? And so I said, nope, it'll be real quick. So, that's fine. And so I would draw like 3 cards, past, present, future, boom, boom, boom. Here's what I think, just really broad overview of that. So there were a couple who really wanted to know more. And when they were leaving the store, they were saying to their friends, wow, that's so spot on. And that was a great feeling for me. I didn't make them cry in the store, but one was looking a little,
Hmm.
teary around the eyes. But, it was just, it was really interesting. It was a good experience, I think, to be able to read too. I know that it can be really challenging to read with sort of, like in a public place or with crowds around because that can influence the reading. I know one time I was doing a reading for someone, and there were people upstairs who were just like boisterous and loud, and then the reading turned out to be about them 100% because their energy was like really strong, and so
Oh,
it was,
weird.
yeah, and I
Okay.
was like, this doesn't make any sense, this isn't about me, it's not about you. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So if you're reading for others and you're in a public place, I think it's actually really good experience, to be around like a crowd and just to kind of hone your skills. Know the cards really well before you do that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's always really ideal when you can be like, in a very quiet place where you have privacy and silence and you don't know them, and maybe you're just doing a reading and you email it to them or something like that. That can be ideal because you have the time and space to tune in, to meditate, to get in that space. But when you're reading for people like professionally, sometimes you're like at a fair and you just don't have that opportunity, it's just busy, and you just, yeah, so to be able to do that, in the situation you were describing, is a real gift. That's someone who, if they can, touch people like that, that's amazing, because that's, I think that's ultimately why a lot of us read tarot for other people. We want to be able to help and
Hmm.
to use our gifts in a way that's going to improve things for others.
And I think that's a hidden reason we don't realize when we pick up the cards.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know that reading cards for people would sound so stupid now. I didn't realize that that could be helpful for them. Really, like when I
Yeah.
started, it was just like, well, these are really cool, and there seems to be hidden meaning. I'm going to figure out what that hidden meaning is.
Yeah.
And so spending all that time trying to find that hidden meaning, I never connected the dots that I was looking for the hidden meaning so that I could then help somebody later on with it. It's like I
Right.
just, um, yeah, when someone later referred to that, to what I did as helping and healing people, I was blown away. I was just like, whoa,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
Me?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
What? Wow. Because I don't know. I think that sometimes we're drawn to things that we don't know why. Like drawn to
Exactly.
witchcraft, don't know why, right? Like I don't understand why. It's funny because I get that question a lot when I just working the floor at the shop. Like you're walking around and people are like, "Excuse me," like I'm really interested in all this stuff, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
I
Oh, that's
swear
great.
I get that question, and I'm like, well,
Love it.
let me tell you what I can do. Um, but yeah, like just, the whole idea that witchcraft and tarot and all of the tools that we have in witchcraft, herbs and tarot and astrology and numerology and blah, so many things. They all kind of point to making us feel better, right? Being able to get rid of some of our anxiety and to actually feel comfortable in our skin and who we are. That I think they're all a pathway to that.
Definitely.
We just don't realize it. We don't understand that when we start that path.
Right.
That at least I didn't. And I think most people don't. I mean, I wanted to know hidden stuff. I wanted to be wise. I wanted to understand all the secrets, right? Like that's what's so attractive to me. But I didn't understand why I wanted to know those things until much later. And then I
Yeah.
kind of put it together.
I think I heard something from, I think it was Sarah Wiseman, who has written a couple of books and is just wonderful. And she said something to the effect of the universe is bending over backwards to give us messages in every conceivable way possible. Or that might have been Abraham Hicks, or I might be conflating two things that either of them said, but I think that's really true. It's like, wow, this, feels like good and exciting because we're meant to go in this direction. I want to go to this magic shop and, work with the crystals or whatever it is. And I'm so intrigued by that. Like, it's just so magical and powerful, and you want to know more about it. And there's a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad I'm finally figuring out why, because and I think that opening the shop helped me with that too, because suddenly I had to put all of my thoughts into words, explain them to my customers, which kind of puts you on the spot. But it really helps me to understand myself better and understand, and how to relay that information in an easily understood way. Um, Rachel says, I consider tarot readings just another
Yeah.
form of therapy.
Love it. Love
100%.
it.
100%. It's funny because, and this, like people think it's one thing, right? They
Mhm.
think it's fortune telling and, you're going to meet a tall stranger. Um, but so how do you explain what tarot readings actually are?
I did get this question, when I did a couple of book signings recently. They were in like a very sort of mainstream type bookstore that did a really really good job of catering to everyone and stocking things of interest for everyone. So they were very inclusive, and they happened to have sort of witchy books too and some tarot cards. But it was like then all of the standard fare, like fiction and all of that, books about cooking and gardening. So I got all types coming through for my readings, and I would just kind of greet them and try to entice them over to my table, and get them to look at my book and talk about it. And I got that question a lot, what is tarot? I've heard of it, but I don't really know what it is. Is it like fortune telling? And, people were really interesting in their responses because to varying degrees of like total receptivity to, I'm not going to look at that, that's, bad or whatever. I had the whole spectrum, and it was super interesting because it told me a lot about people and their reactions and feelings towards that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I described in a nutshell was essentially tarot is a tool to help us to, gain more insight about our life. We can use it to connect with the divine, with our higher selves. I didn't quite go into that level of detail with them, but essentially, I just let them know it's a tool that we can use to help ourselves to gain insight and knowledge, to help us on our path.
Yeah, you kind of got to read your audience when you're getting into
Definitely.
how much to
Yeah.
tell them. Well, you can talk to deities. They're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Deities? Wait, 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 wait.
Yeah. Then you
Yeah,
go into
being
polytheism and all these questions. Yeah.
wait, 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 wait. Yeah, how
So
much
many
time you got?
questions.
Reading for a cross section of people is always weird. Putting yourself out there into an atmosphere that's not just magic and witchy is always very interesting. Like
It was extremely interesting.
the kind of people you're going to get. I've I've read at coffee shops and I've read at festivals that I had no business being at, like things that had nothing to do with what I do, nothing.
Yeah.
Um, Weddings. I read. Oh God, I got this gig a long time ago to go to this wedding that they just really wanted a tarot reader, and I had to go in like full regalia, like I had
Wow.
to be the whole thing. And I was just there as kind of as a goof, right? I spent 4 hours nonstop reading for the entire the line went around the huge tent,
Wow.
people waiting for me, and it was way overwhelming. I was doing little 3-card readings and people were like this one guy was just crying about why doesn't my mother love me? And I'm like, I'm not
Oh,
prepared for
poor
this at
guy.
all.
Oh my gosh.
It was like, what?
Like, guess what? You're a therapist now?
Full on. Something I said in the cards, just like, waterworks. It was, but you do get to see all kinds of different people and how they react to a tarot reader, to what the cards do. I, some of my favorites, and also some of the worst readings I've ever done, were the guys who were like, let's see what this all about. Like sit down, like, okay, little lady, show
Uh-huh.
me what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Wow me. And I'm like, oh God, oh, this is, and they never go well. They're just like,
Yeah.
because I can't connect with them. And if I can't connect with them, I can't help. I can't help, like I can't,
Yeah.
the cards, it's almost like the cards are going cold. And they're just like, no. I'm like,
Yeah.
shit. I really want to impress this guy.
Yeah, it's so much to do with the other person's level of receptivity. Because if they come up like that and they're not believing in it, just thinking it's a silly gag or a hoax, or you're just, trying to make a buck, they are shutting themselves off from receiving what you could potentially be giving them, which is so valuable. And, they have no idea it's channeled from divine guidance. If they knew that, if they truly knew that, they would think about it differently. But, you can't, I mean, you can lead them to water, right? So, I don't know. They just have to be receptive. So,
Yeah, I think that a lot of times it's just because they want to sit across from a woman for 10 minutes. So
fair enough. Yeah.
I learned lots of things. No cleavage. I show no cleavage when I go to readings.
Good idea.
Yes, I try not to attract the wrong sort of situation. Um, but yeah, if that's why I was saying I love reading for readers,
Mhm.
because they are so receptive. They want to hear what you have to say. Um, I had one bad experience with a reader though. She didn't like what I was saying. And because she started like stabbing at my cards with her
Ooh.
nails and like
Oh.
scratching them and telling me what she would be saying instead. And I'm like,
Ooh.
whoa, wow,
Goodness.
yikes. So sometimes, you get all kinds. I don't do much readings anymore.
Yeah. I don't
It's
blame you.
I find it to be a really taxing and overwhelming.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I sometimes I'll open it up. Well, I'll say I'll do readings for a month, and then I'm like, why did I do this?
Yeah.
It's terrible. But I do when I get into a reading, like when I'm in the middle of one, I get into it and I love it, but it does tax me.
It takes a lot of energy and focus. you know, because you're going to a place like mentally and in your heart sort of like you have to get into this space of alignment. And, you know, to do that isn't necessarily easy, especially when you have someone, you know, arriving with their set of issues and questions and expectations and, you know, lack or availability of receptivity and all of that. I mean, there are just so many factors that go into that. It can be really taxing. So, you know, I admire people who do that like all the time, you know, on a regular basis. But would I want to do it? No. I'll write about it. That can help others.
And I understand that because you're giving the information, but you're kind of separated from the energy exchange, right? Because
Right.
that's what can be really, really
Yeah.
taxing.
But it can be a lot of fun too, I have to say. You know, in all fairness, it can be so much fun to connect with others. But you know, you get a mixed group. So that's where it gets interesting and sometimes challenging.
Like, so I and a lot of people I know, we do get taxed from it. Like it is a bit of an energy drain. But man, the woman I keep bringing up, Rose, she gets energized by it. Oh my God. Like I've watched her read for 6 hours. And then she's ready to go out to a bar and talk to somebody else about readings. Like, oh, did you want a reading now? I'm like, what? How do you?
Neat.
Oh, I
Yeah.
can't even. She was like, I feed off of it. I'm like, whoa, I can't get there. I was like,
Yeah.
teach me.
I honestly think the difference is I think it can be harder if you're an empath.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, you know, our abilities kind of manifest differently for all of us. And if you're an empath, you tend to kind of naturally draw others' energy. You know, it can just be like a boundary thing, you know, just setting boundaries. But, you know, I think it also has to do with kind of how we're inclined, like what is our ability and kind of how does it manifest for us? You know, some people I feel like, you know, I think you and me are kind of on the same page with that because I've felt that before. And it's not always a boundary issue. Sometimes it's just the way you work. You know, and I think people who get energized for it, that's great. That's really great. They're in the right field. Keep doing that.
I'm
So
envious that they can do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But yeah, I agree. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. We have one reader at the shop right now, Christina, who's also our general manager. And she's been doing a couple of tarot parties recently, like for a bridal shower and stuff like that. Um, and she's been having the greatest time with it. Like she's really enjoying doing it. And I'm like,
that's great.
yes, keep doing it. If you enjoy doing it, keep doing it. Um, and we have another great reader here in town. Her name is Libby Bruce. She goes by Tarot by Libby on Instagram. I highly suggest her too. She is she's been doing it for a long time and she really loves it. I think she cuts her hours down, you know, like she only does certain times a week, to kind of keep it that way because I think you have to set your boundaries
Definitely.
so you don't go crazy. I've I've had clients where like I've read for them twice and then they're like, "Well, how can I reach you?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "How what if I need you?" And I'm like, that's not how this works. Like I'm not your therapist. They're like, "But what if something happens and I need to talk to you?" I'm like, "That's
Mhm.
that's not what I'm offering here.
Right.
I'm not going to give you my cell phone number." Like that's not how this works. So that actually has pushed me further and further from it. The more dependency people get on me, the less I want to do it,
Yeah.
which I think is a weird thing. I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. I don't want people dependent on me because I don't want to be responsible, I think.
Yeah. But I mean that's boundaries too. You know, if you're not feeling like this is resonant with you, and that's not kind of the situation that you want to be in, then I think you just have to trust that and respect it. But yeah,
Yeah, those people scare me. I actually see that one woman on occasion and I will go the other way. Like,
yeah.
nope, nope,
Oh,
nope, nope,
I
nope, nope.
understand that.
They freak me out. All right. So let me see if I have any other questions that I didn't cover. Oh, I never asked you what the first time you read tarot was, did I?
Oh, the first time I read tarot?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that was a funny story. So it was right after I went to that shop and I
Oh
got
yeah.
my first deck. Yeah. And so I was with my best friend and we're like, ooh, new tarot deck. Let's give each other readings, of course. And so I
So you're
gave
sitting
her
there with the
everything.
little book.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. It's that little Rider-Waite-Smith book. It's like this big. And we were like, oh, what does that mean? Let's find wands. And so she gave me my reading, and it was terrible, and it foretold disastrous things. And I was like, oh my gosh, my world is ending. And then my world ended, and disastrous things happened. And I was like, what is this tarot? And totally blaming it.
Yeah, of course,
Um,
it's the tarot's fault because you
it's
messed
the
with those
tarot's
damn
fault.
cards.
Yeah, yeah, it's the, whatever. But it's, so I put it aside, didn't look at it for a very long time, many years, perhaps a
Mhm.
decade or longer, and just carried it around with me because it was still kind of cool and interesting. And so one day I broke it out and I was like, remember that thing that happened? Yeah. That was silly, right? Yeah, that was silly. That was going to happen anyway. Okay, let's figure this out. Let's see what this is all about. This could potentially be helpful. I want to learn about it now. I'm ready. So
Yeah,
that
because
was
it's
my first reading. Yeah,
what's that?
that was my first reading. Sorry.
That's crazy because you can't. It's almost like you feel guilty that you messed with something, and this was your punishment.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that feeling because that sucks.
it sucked for a long time.
And the
But
cards,
it's
if the
okay.
cards had a consciousness, they'd be like, "Oh, good, we caught you just in time."
Yeah,
And
exactly.
meanwhile, you're like, "Damn old cards, it's your fault."
Yep.
That's
That's exactly
frustrating.
right. Yeah. And so, I mean, when people are new to tarot, I always make a point of telling them, what the tarot says is going to happen is not inevitable. You have free will. If you don't like what it says or shows you, change it, make a different choice.
Right. The whole
Yes.
point of that outcome card is it's just if you keep going on the track you're going now,
Hmm.
this is the
Exactly.
most likely thing to happen.
Right. Yeah. This is where the energetic momentum that's happening right now is heading towards. But you can kind of, rein it back, go this way instead, and, choose differently, and, you can change it.
And by understanding more about your situation, I think that
Mhm.
because then you're making more informed decisions, which I think is what the tarot does. Like I think for me it's always about giving more information about what's going on in your life right now, right?
Yeah.
Like putting more light on something, a perspective you hadn't seen before of the same situation you're dealing with, but just looking at it from another way. Sometimes somebody else explaining to you the same situation you're in is enough for you to see it in a new way that could then change that outcome.
Yeah, that's so true. So, while you can read for yourself, because of that reason, sometimes it's really helpful to have someone else read for you who can give you an objective opinion and say, okay, here's how I'm reading it. So it can be helpful to hear it from somebody else and not just, your own interpretation all the time.
Absolutely. You know what else I find helpful is having somebody there with the person I'm reading for, because there is nothing more truthful than the person sitting next to them.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like I'll be reading for someone, usually it's two women. I'll be reading for someone and I will, tell them, well, this card represents this and this and this. And they will look stone faced. And then, meanwhile, their friend is like, oh, shit. Like she just called you out. Like,
Love
oh,
it.
my God. And they're just like, shut up. Like, but that's what she's saying, right? Like, oh my God.
That's
It's
great.
it's awesome. It's one of my favorite things. I love it when people bring a friend, especially they're like one of their best friends because they're like the face of truth next to
Yeah.
them. It's hilarious.
I love that.
I love it too. Okay. So let me ask you this. Is there anything else you're excited about right now? I know you're working on a book and you can't talk about that, and that's okay. But is there anything else you're excited about you want to talk about?
Yes, so I can talk about this, and it's a project in the works, but I can still talk about it.
Yeah.
So I write music for the piano, so this is totally unrelated to anything we've talked about. And so I'm working on an album, and I'm very excited about that. So I'm probably about 3/4 of the way done with it, and then it's going to be, out there. Yeah, super exciting.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
So where will people be able to find that album?
So I think I'm probably just going to release it under Victoria Constantino. It'll be on Spotify,
Okay.
iTunes, all of that, everywhere.
Oh, that's so
So yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
Yes. Well, it's we've been on for almost 2 hours, so I'm gonna let you go.
Okay.
But I want to thank you for coming on. And before you go, just run through again how people can find you.
Yes, so people can find me at victoriaconstantino.com. They can find Tarot by the Moon everywhere books are sold. So you can go online to your favorite retailer and find it there. You can also find me on Facebook at Victoria Constantino Author, on Instagram at victoria.constantino.author, and also on Instagram on the second account, Tarot by the Moon, all separated by underscores.
There
If
you
you
go.
can't find that, find Victoria Constantino one.
That was a good one. That was a good way to say
Yeah.
that.
A lot shorter.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
And
you.
when your new book comes out, maybe you'll come and see us again.
Yeah,
That
that
would be
would be great.
lovely.
I'd love
That'd be
to.
awesome. And if you ever want to come out to Ohio and maybe do a little tarot workshop or something, that'd be
Yeah,
fun. You have an
sounds like
open
fun to
invitation.
me.
Let me know.
All right.
All right. Everybody have a wonderful night. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. As always, you're all lovely and important to me. And thank you, Victoria. And I will talk to you all very soon.
Bye,
Have a
everyone. Thank
wonderful
you.
evening.
Bye.
Where's my thing? There we go.